You've joined us for a deep dive, and today we're getting into a real cornerstone of strategy. Sun Tzu's The Art of War, specifically Chapter 2.
That's right, Chapter 2, Waging War.
And, the title itself might make you think it's all about the clash of armies,
Mm-hmm. Tactics, maneuvers, that sort of thing.
but that's not really where Sun Tzu starts, is it? It's almost, well, the
Yep,
opposite.
exactly. It's fascinating because he immediately dives into the practicalities, the massive burden, the cost involved before any fighting happens.
He's really setting the stage, saying, hold on, this is serious business. It's all about planning and knowing what you're getting into resource-wise.
Absolutely. It's about understanding the sheer weight of undertaking a war.
Okay, so let's talk about those costs. He paints this really vivid picture, doesn't he?
He does. He talks about thousands of chariots, specific numbers even.
Yeah, like 75 swift ones, 25 heavy ones, each with foot soldiers, plus 100,000 mail-clad soldiers. That's a huge force.
A massive force, and then getting them provisions, supplies, across potentially huge distances. He mentions 1,000 lie.
And just so you know, a lie is about a third of a mile. So yeah, we're talking serious logistics here, hundreds of miles potentially.
It really grounds ancient warfare in, well, logistical reality. And he gets even more specific about the daily cost for an army that size.
That's the part that always gets me. 1,000 ounces of silver per day.
Per day. And it's not just food and arrows, is it? He lists things like...
Entertainment, glue and paint, things you wouldn't immediately think of.
Exactly. Maintaining chariots, armor. It shows the sheer scale of the support needed. It's an all-consuming drain. What really strikes you about that detail?
It just makes it so concrete. It's not some abstract game. It's about real economic capacity. Can the state actually afford this?
Precisely. And that leads right into his next big point. The danger of letting things drag on, protracted conflict.
Right. It's not just the money spent each day. There are other consequences if it goes on too long.
Far from it. He lays out this sort of domino effect. Weapons get dull.
Morale drops. That ardor he talks about just fizzles out.
Yeah, soldiers get exhausted, strength is depleted, and crucially, the state's treasury runs dry.
Which leaves you vulnerable, right?
Critically vulnerable. He makes this really sharp point that a long war basically signals your weakness to everyone else.
Your rivals, the other chieftains, they're just watching and waiting for you to falter.
Pretty much, waiting to pounce when you're exhausted. It links internal strain directly to external threats.
Okay, then he throws this curveball, this idea that maybe stupid haste is better than clever dilatoriness.
Huh. Yeah, it sounds completely backward at first, doesn't
A
it?
little bit. Like, shouldn't you always be clever and strategic, even if it takes time?
Well, his logic seems to be that the inevitable national poverty caused by a long war is worse than maybe a less than perfect but quick victory.
So cut your losses, avoid bankrupting the country, even if the win isn't elegant.
That seems to be the idea. Avoid the guaranteed drain of a long campaign if a swift, decisive action is possible. It sort of puts figures like Fabius Cunctator, the famous delayer, into a different light, you know? Sun Tzu seems skeptical of speed as an option.
Interesting. And this economic strain, it's not just hitting the government coffers. He talks about the people, too.
Oh, absolutely. It filters right down. He mentions the people's income being dissipated. Some commentators even thought he meant like 7/10 of it.
7/10, that's crippling for ordinary people.
It's a huge burden. And then he details the government's costs beyond just soldier pay, broken chariots needing repair, worn-out horses, replacing armor, shields, spears, even the draft animals pulling the supply wagons.
He puts a number on that, too, right? Like
That-
4/10 of total revenue.
Yeah, it's another massive chunk. It paints this picture of the whole economy just groaning under the weight of a prolonged war. What stands out to you there?
Just how total it is. It
Yeah.
affects every single level of society. It really drives home why he keeps hammering on speed and decisiveness.
Get in, get it done, minimize the damage, avoid that long, drawn-out resource bleed.
Which loops back perfectly to that core idea. Speed matters. Avoid getting bogged down.
Exactly. Minimize the time, minimize the cost, minimize the window for your rivals. It's all tightly linked. Now, shifting gears slightly, he also gets practical about what happens after a battle. Spoils, captives.
Yeah, that was interesting. Rewarding soldiers who capture enemy chariot.
And not just rewarding them, but actually suggesting you swap the enemy flags for your own and, like, immediately use those captured chariots yourself.
Resourceful. Turn their loss into your immediate gain. Very pragmatic.
It's like battlefield recycling. And his advice on captured soldiers is also pretty notable for the time.
Treat them well and keep them. not just execute or enslave them.
Right. Treat them kindly, integrate them. Again, it's resource conscious. Maybe they fight for you, or at least they aren't rejoining the enemy. It's also maybe be psychologically smart, reduces future resistance.
It feels quite modern in a way. The focus on conservation of resources, even human ones. Okay, then comes this really big, maybe the most famous idea from this area. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting.
Ah, yes. That's the pinnacle, isn't it?
What's the heart of that for you? What does it really mean?
I mean, it elevates strategy beyond just winning fights. It's about achieving your ultimate objective, making the enemy submit or yield without the cost, the destruction, the bloodshed of actual combat.
So, using diplomacy, maybe maneuvers, intelligence, psychology, anything but a head-on clash if possible.
Precisely. It's the ultimate efficiency, winning before the battle even starts, essentially.
Which makes his next point about sieges even starker, because sieges are the opposite of that, right?
Absolutely. He details just how long and resource-intensive they are. Months, he says, just to prepare the gear mallets, shelters.
And then more months building up earthworks, the mounds against the walls. It sounds exhausting just reading about it.
It really does. And he warns generals against getting impatient and just throwing their troops at the walls prematurely. He calls it a swarming ants approach.
Like a chaotic, wasteful mess that costs tons of lives.
Exactly. It underlines his point. Even when fighting seems necessary, like in a siege, avoid costly, impulsive actions. Patience and preparation are still key.
He also touches on tactics when you have superior numbers, like double the enemy's strength.
He suggests dividing your forces. One attacks frontally, the other goes around for a flank or rear attack.
Now that sounds a bit risky, doesn't it? Dividing your army. Isn't concentration of force a basic principle?
It does seem counterintuitive, and commentators have wrestled with it. The general idea, though, is it's not just randomly splitting up. It's a specific maneuver.
Like a pincer, pin them down with one force, hit them hard with the other.
Sort of, yeah. Create confusion, attack from an unexpected direction, use your overall numbers to create a local superiority at the key moment. It's considered an irregular tactic, not a standard formation.
Got it. Okay, so as we wrap up Chapter 2, he circles back to something absolutely fundamental.
The bedrock of it all, really.
Know yourself, know your enemy.
Couldn't be clearer. He says if you know both, you need not fear 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory you'll suffer a defeat.
And if you know neither?
You'll lose every single time. Simple as that. Why do you think that message resonates so strongly, even now?
Because it's just universally true, isn't it? Whether it's war, business, sports, even personal goals, understanding your own capabilities and limitations and understanding the situation or the opponent you're facing, it's just basic to making good decisions.
Absolutely. Ignorance is weakness. Knowledge of both sides is strength. It's the foundation for any kind of effective strategy.
So thinking about all this, the costs, the dangers of delay, the need for knowledge, how might you, our listeners, see these ideas playing out today?
Well, the high cost of war is obvious, isn't it? Modern military budgets, the economic fallout from conflicts, it's Sun Tzu's point on a global scale.
Definitely. And protracted conflict. I mean, you see it in business, right? Endless negotiations that just drain everyone, or political stalemates where nothing gets done because it just drags on.
Exactly. Momentum dies, resources get wasted, opportunities are missed. And that idea of supreme excellence, winning without fighting.
That feels very relevant to diplomacy, negotiation, finding ways to achieve goals without resorting to costly confrontation, maybe even in marketing or business strategy.
Sure. Outmaneuvering competitors, finding uncontested market space, achieving your aims smartly, efficiently.
What about sieges? What a modern equivalent? Maybe like a long, drawn-out legal battle.
Yeah.
Or trying to break into a really entrenched market.
Those are good analogies. Situations requiring sustained effort, significant resources, and a lot of patience, with the risk of costly failure if you rush it.
And underlying it all, that need to know yourself and the enemy. That applies everywhere, surely. Business intelligence, market research, even just self-awareness in your career or personal life.
Absolutely vital. Any competitive situation, any challenging endeavor, really, understanding the landscape and your place in it.
It's pretty amazing how relevant this ancient text still feels. Okay, so before we finish this deep dive, let's give everyone a little taste of Chapter 3.
Right. So, Chapter 3 is called Attack by Stratagem.
Stratagem. Sounds intriguing.
It builds directly on what we've discussed, the high cost of war. Chapter 3 gets into the how of avoiding those costs. It's about using planning, deception, intelligence, Essentially, how to outthink and outmaneuver your opponent.
More on that theme of winning before the battle.
Exactly. It digs much deeper into those non-combat methods of achieving victory. It's about the art of the plan, the feint, the psychological edge.
Attack by stratagem. Okay, so maybe the question for you to ponder before our next deep dive is, how can you use clever planning, maybe even a bit of misdirection, to reach your goals without having to fight tooth and nail for them?
That's a great thought to carry forward.
Well, thank you for joining us digging into Chapter 2 of The Art of War. It really shows how timeless strategic thinking can be.
Hopefully, it sparks some ideas about how these concepts might apply, even far away from ancient battlefields.
We definitely encourage you to check out the source material yourself, and please join us next time as we unravel the secrets of attack by stratagem.
Until then, keep thinking strategically.